Hello everyone. Let's talk about the chart of Chambal fertilizer. And I was observing something very interesting, and I think it's absolutely worth sharing. So you're looking at my layout where you're looking at three indicators, three EMAs. Uh, the first EMA is the 20 EMA on the daily time frame. The next is the 100 EMA and the 250 EMA. Here you're looking at the RSI, the 25 period RSI, and you're looking at the MACD histograms, which uses the volume as the source, comparing the 20-day average volume with the 100-day average volume. Now, what you will notice is that over here we had some volume increase against price rise, very close to this EMA. Now, this is very interesting to me because on the daily time frame, we are seeing that there is a RSI positive divergence. And on a very broad level, the trend which the RSI is indicating to us over here is extreme bullishness. So, within an extremely bullish trend, we are currently experiencing intermittent correction, and this correction has taken strong support at the 250 EMA and has shown a positive divergence. To me, this looks like a potential beginning of a new leg of uptrend. So, if this was one entire uptrend, we are expecting another same or similar kind of uptrend, which is going to start off from this point onward. Now, you will notice another thing if you come with me. Look at this correction. Now, with technical analysis, we know the terminology history repeats itself, and that is very true. History does repeat itself, which also means that we are doing when we do any chart analysis, what we are essentially dealing with is an open book exam, which means whatever it is that we're experiencing on the chart right now has most likely happened in the chart if there is enough price data available in the past, and we just have to look back at the section where it happened and take inspiration. So if you look at this correction, how it consolidated near a support zone, and then on the RSI daily time frame, it gave a positive divergence, and then the big uptrend began. It's very similar to what we are experiencing over here. So, having identified all this, what I want to do now is ascertain where my target lies. So, for determining the target, I want to use the trend line. So I am going to project a trend line and get this entire trend, capture this trend. So I've created the maiden trend line using these lows on the weekly time frame. And now I have projected this trend line further up. If I go back into history, I can see I'm getting some new range as well higher up. So what I think is that the signal that we are getting over here, RSI positive divergence after consolidation, we got a similar signal here and we saw this entire uptrend unfold. Now I believe that with respect to this entire trend, right, this massive correction over here, so let's look at the timelines. This is where 2020 March 2020, this is where a new trend had begun in the stock of Chambal fertilizer. Okay, if we look back, this looks like this was an entire uptrend, and then this was A, B, a truncated C over here. So a lot of times, basis Elliott wave, when the underlying uptrend is very strong, um, you can also think this as wave B and then this as ABC, but it seems very unlikely because the volume pickup in this section was pretty high. So I would say this was definitely wave 5. This is where the uptrend ended. This was the first correction, wave A. This was the second leg of the correction, wave B. You can see the ABC structure in the counter trend, and this was the wave C, right? Now this correction ended over here. A lot of times the ABC correction doesn't have to be like that. When the underlying trend is very very strong, the wave B can surpass wave A, and then the wave C can be truncated, which means it does not come all the way to correct the wave B, right? So I know I just complicated this more than I intended to, but it's an important observation. So which means that this is where the fresh new bull trend began. So this was wave one, this was wave two. Now this is wave three unfolding. Now we don't know if it has folded entirely, which seems unlikely because wave one is pretty long in wave C. Wave three is not yet the same, not even the same length as wave um, one that we see here. So this wave one is 8,000 points, and this wave three that is unfolding. So far it has unfolded 9,000 points already. Okay. So it's already longer than the first wave, but because we're using a logarithmic chart, it looks different, which is fine. Even if I do turn off the logarithmic charts for a second there, right? So wave C has unfolded or is unfolding. We don't know yet, but the positive signal has come in. So what I expect here is for the next uptrend to open. So what I will do is I will use this tool called the Fibonacci trend-based Fibonacci extension. So the first trend that we saw here, this first trend nearly doubled, or I would say went 1.2x roughly. If I redraw this, right, I think my minimum target for the next uptrend that unfolds, even if it doesn't go all the way to the top, let's remove this to get better visibility. Even if it doesn't double from here, because the next wave is expected to be the wave fifth, uh, right? It's expected to be wave fifth, which means that it may not uh, be the longest wave or even as long as wave 3. So we'll take a conservative stand over there. For it to be equal to wave 3, it would have to rally up to this point, 1,000 points. But if we take a conservative stand and say even if wave 3 61.8% gets extended upward, then this becomes a potential target. So from current price we are at, this gives us a target of at least 50% with a stop loss at the current low, because if the current low gets triggered, then we want to get out. With that, we get a stop loss of around 10%. So with a 10% stop loss and a target of roughly 50%, we are getting a risk reward ratio of almost 5x. So I would say this becomes a very good um, potential trade setup. Now I want to use the trend line and I want to place a trend line here also where these peaks were forged. Now, trend lines also do a very good job of helping us identify potential target levels. Now, the second trend line that I've drawn almost intersects with the doubling of the next wave, or the next wave being exactly as long as the wave three. And if we extend that, then our target comes to somewhere around 82%. With respect to timelines, I believe it could resume the rally in the next 1 month or so, in the next 1 or 2 months. And then the rest of the rally. So the previous rally took about 2 years to scale to X. This rally took about, again, 2 years roughly to scale 4x. And if this goes up from here, this would rally about 84% and 9,000 points. So this was how many points? This was about 8,000 points. This leg was about 9,000 points. So say 7 to 8,000 points rally if we expect over here, right? In the next 2 years, I would expect it to again take similar amount of time, but this doesn't. So it could be a bit of a slow rally, but I do see good 50 to 80% upside on Chambal fertilizers this point onwards. So I think that's a pretty good upside. So Chambal fertilizer will be part of my long-term portfolio for the time being.